Hey guys, it's Karalynn. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm super excited about today's guest, somebody who's living in the industry and knows how everything works and has a very exciting bio. So let me read it to you. Ryan Kelly is a pro remodeler, 40 under 40 award winner, endurance athlete, and founder of KHB Construction, Moonbound Marketing, and Home Team Stone. A former college football player, he overcame career-ending industries to compete in elite endurance races, including the Spartan Race World Champions 50K. In 2020, he launched KHB Construction, revolutionizing remodeling with streamlined, self-reliant approach. His ventures now span construction, digital marketing, and custom stonework. A leader and innovator in the workplace culture, Ryan prioritizes excellence, transparency, and employee empowerment. That's pretty impressive, Ryan. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Yeah, no, thanks for reading that. I feel awkward listening to it, but
I know I hate when people read my bios too, but it's so exciting.
Yeah.
So before we jump in, tell us about yourself, and I kind of want to read your history, but how did you get here?
Yeah. So, well, pretty much the beginning was in high school. I had my first construction job in the summer. It was my girlfriend at the time. Her dad was a GC, and I was a laborer for one summer with him, and kind of hated it. Hated waking up that early. But, grew up on a farm and have always been working with my hands and was taught how to work hard from a young age. And so that moved out through college where I did play football. I was a middle linebacker, just kind of built like a rectangle. And so are my kids now, which is kind of funny to look at. And to make money on the side, I was a ranch hand. So I was on equestrian ranches, repairing barns, fences, just really whatever was required there. And then I moved to Turlock in 2012, I want to say. Started working in the service industry, like for restaurants, bars, and stuff like that, while I started racing. Because, after football, got injured. So I needed to find a passion because I was putting on weight and I've always been an athlete and I'm really competitive. And I was like, why not just run ultra marathons, right? Let's just start doing that. So
Great.
I started running and was putting in a ton of miles, like 60 to 100 miles a week of running, traveling the Western United States. And I got pretty decent, got sponsored, and got picked up on a obstacle racing team and just traveled like Colorado West for 3 years doing races every month. And that was a blast. And I met my wife. We had our first kid, and, racing and being a bartender doesn't really pay the bills. It's more of a single man's game out there trying to be an athlete. And so I got back into construction. I started doing commercial construction, and then I got back into more upscale residential. And then I went to public work, prevailing wage, like large government contracts, and being a carpenter by trade. And I got back into construction. It was like 2014, 2015, I want to say, around there. And then KHB, my ex-business partner and I started KHB in 2020. Okay. So like right in the pandemic, which was, I mean, in hindsight, it worked out really well, but during the time it was extremely scary. And yeah, I mean, I was a terrible employee, I like most business owners probably are. And I just felt like I could do it better. And I was always scheming of like what I would want out of my business. And so the business model for KHB was really crafted like 2018, 2019. And I was taking ideas and thoughts of like, okay, this seems to really work for client experience. This seems to really work as a process. I hate this about being an employee. And I basically took like the best and threw out the worst, and then started iterating that in our contracting company. And then from there, we had a merger actually with a flooring company, rebranded them to KHB Flooring. We started Moonbound Marketing out of our internal marketing team. Because we took the approach that like we're a marketing and sales company that happens to do construction. And like one of our first hires was a director of marketing. I think before we even had real people in the field, we had a director of marketing, which set us up for huge success. And then we had an acquisition of a tile and stone company in the end of 2023, finalized in 24. And last year was our first calendar year, January, December of operating. And now my partner and I, we did go separate roads. He started his own company last year. We split and started doing our own things. And so, yeah, that's pretty much up to date on where we're at with our little enterprise.
That's exciting. Before I jump into all the business questions I have for you,
Yeah.
training for a 50K, what does that even look like? And put that in miles for people who don't know kilometers.
Yeah, running at a certain fitness level, it's really more mental than anything else. And it actually, from what I've seen, it's one of the best preparations you can do to be a successful business owner, because the mental fortitude and resilience that you need to build to go run 100 miles a week is another level of
Yeah.
endurance. But physically, it's actually not that bad. It's mostly the maintenance and recovery side of it that's really important. Like when you're not running, that's almost the most important time.
Really?
And I follow the 80-20 rule pretty much in everything I do. It is no different in endurance running. 80% of the time, it is extremely boring. You know, it's low and slow, long distance, low heart rate, zone 2, we would call it,
Yeah.
runs out of 5 zones. And then the 20% of the time, we're doing a little bit more high intensity, like a tempo run or a fartlek run, which is basically intervals of different speeds. But I would always go off heart rate. So
Gotcha.
for 80% of the time, I'm keeping my heart rate below 150. And for 20% of the time, I'm fluctuating between my threshold, like anaerobic threshold, and then anaerobic capacity to increase that VO2 max. And I still do the same thing today, but like just I don't have as much time, because running
Let's
100
schedule.
miles a
Yeah.
week is like,
That's a lot of time.
it's a full-time job, you know? So now I usually run like 15 to 20 miles a week just to try to stay maintenanced. And I gained a lot of weight starting companies too, like the stress of that. I
Oh,
had to
yeah. Just a
yeah,
little.
I think I've lost 40 pounds in the past 6 months just from like going back to some old habits and trying to manage stress in a more proactive, healthy way.
Good way.
But yeah.
Interesting. I run jog a little bit, but not. I ran a half marathon once. I don't know. Getting to the end of that and realizing I would still have another half if I did a full marathon. I'm like, I don't know about.
It's mental. You just got to keep going. Like the first 50K I did, it's like 31 miles or so. And it was a loop, which is like a torture in itself because the scenery is the same. It's almost like you're like in this hell spiral, like on repeat. And I remember finishing the first like 15 and a half, 16-mile loop and just being like, I have to go back up that mountain again. Again. And the races I did had like lake crossings. And this was in Lake Tahoe in the spring. So the water was still just defrosted, like freezing cold. Still snow on the ice, like on the caps. And you have to like, I think it was like mile 26 or 27, like you're a marathon in, and you have to go swim, you know, 200-300 yards through a freezing cold lake in the high mountains. And it was more mental because then you get out, you're all wet, you start to chafe, you're like you're freezing. Yeah, it was brutal. But
That's strong. That's very strong. Okay, so I was reading over like managing your topic. One of the topics you want to talk about is managing expectations, and I have to say, like, I'm a repeat on that with my clients. Right, in the construction industry, you need to manage expectations on the front end. So, what does that look like for you, and do you find it to be successful?
Yeah, I think expectations are best delivered through transparency. So I tell our clients how the experience goes, good and bad, with previous clients, because that's the reality. It's not if something goes wrong, it's when something goes wrong. Especially in the renovation space, you know, home services and product replacement and stuff like that. It's a little bit more black and white. And I would argue that home building, spec homes, custom homes, it's a little bit more black and white there as well, because it's, you know, from scratch. But in my world of renovations, like I said, it's when something doesn't go to plan, like what happens and who's on your team at that point. And I share with them based on the project, if it's a kitchen, bath, full home, if there's any structural elements, we go through all the potential pitfalls of like what could go wrong. So the expectation up front is that we are not perfect, you know, but we do right by our clients. We stand behind our clients. We do everything we can to deliver on our promises to them. And sometimes, you know, we might open up a 1905 home and we know it's all cut and stack and it's all nominal old school lumber. And it might take a couple of days longer than we estimated because we didn't know that this was the particular method of framing for this area in 1905, right? Or this is going on for the roof system. So the expectation upfront, that starts in your marketing, right? Like I
Really?
think and that's one of the premises we base our marketing off of is They Ask You Answer, Marcus Sheridan.
Yeah.
Great book. That was like one of the first books we read together as a team. And we wanted to address all the questions that were coming in to us through our website forms, through email, through phone calls, and basically just shoot content around those and then be able to deliver that content before we even get onto the job walk. So we're addressing all the either scare, questions that homeowners might have, or just like frequently asked questions. And so I think the best expectation you can set is clear, transparent marketing messaging, because they're going to set up your sales team for success, because all they have to do is reaffirm that message that client saw, and it's going to set up operations for success. Now, with expectations, the biggest pitfall we always had was the tribalism of departments, especially like at scale. So sales and marketing turns into like that front end, almost independent company of its own.
Right.
And then operations on the back end was turning into like its own little tribe of its own. So being able to like translate and hand off those expectations efficiently and responsibly to a whole other set of teams in order to fulfill the promises that were made in sales and marketing was a huge hurdle. And what we did to kind of mitigate that in the past 2 years has been just reducing the points of accountability in our process. So basically like process plotting out from phone call comes in all the way to the final nail on the baseboard is done, who's responsible for what, and isolating those responsibilities and accountabilities to one person per phase. So, which is a huge tip for anyone out there, because I'm sure everyone goes through that, like the baton's getting handed off to, and that was really big. So like we call them the CEOs of this phase of our process. So like the CSR is the CEO of everything prior to a job walk. The salesperson is the CEO all the way up to contract signing, and then the project manager is the CEO from contract signing to finish. And he has the other two CEOs at his disposal. So like the salesperson isn't going anywhere once the job starts. They're often involved in our critical path walkthroughs. The CSR is not going anywhere when the salesperson's on a job walk, constantly updating with notes, any follow-up messages, emails, any context needed. And so really just building like a cohesive team with one person giving a direct report to the next person, instead of having to chase down information across the guys in the field, the office admins, and all that stuff.
So I had a question on that. What was it? My mind just went blank. But so you have these processes. So do you explain this process of how you work internally to your customers?
Oh yeah. Especially where we're at, like proximity wise, we're surrounded by tech and entrepreneurs, and most of our clients are C-level or business owner, entrepreneur, tech startups. They understand like how businesses ran, and it's actually gotten us more business, showing them like, hey, we kind of have our shit together, look at our single line diagram of our process. Like, you are here, and we're going to go through these steps, and here's who's responsible for these steps, and here's what you can expect out of this process. Like, here's our outcome, our end goals. And our clients love it.
Really?
I love it. We try to keep it as simple as possible, but we want to be as inclusive as needed. So if they want to see, which goes into our pricing too, like we're an open book. We don't mark up anything on our proposals. We're open book pricing, open book process. And I have actually made friends with some of our entrepreneurial clients, and they're asking like, because construction is business on hard mode, right?
Oh yeah.
Like, hands down. I wish we were selling SaaS products and, little remote
something
control.
easier to manufacture and deliver.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So it's like it's just business on hard mode. And once they see the back end of that, like when we meet a SaaS, business owner or entrepreneur, and they see our process and it's like way more complex than theirs, they're like, it piques their interest,
Yeah, I agree.
And we just want a $200K kitchen because he is an operations director for a tech company. And he's like, how are you guys doing this? How are you running this many jobs with this many people, with this many, hats and departments and everything kind of getting convoluted. And we had like a cool little jam session going through our process plotting and like talking through the tech stack and how that accelerates, these existing processes, and AI, of course, which I'm sure we'll talk
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. Well, I do want to talk about the technology part, but I'm very curious about what it was that was creating the pain point, and then how you created this process to fix it.
Well, what pain point specifically? Because there's a
Well,
ton.
I mean, you only improve processes if something's broke and you're feeling the pain.
Yeah.
So what wasn't working?
Well, the scale. So
Gotcha.
yeah, scale breaks everything. And like my biggest job daily is identifying the biggest problems that are going to be coming up and
Yeah.
putting a solution in place before they happen. So just trying to mitigate or hedge those risks of a process breaking and I really reduced it down to two things, quality work and client experience. Like
Okay.
those are the two, like if we take care of that 20%, the 80% is going to take care of itself.
Gotcha.
We have happy clients, we do great work, a lot of things are going to go right. Now, identifying the problems is probably the trickiest part when you start bolting people into your company. It's really easy as like owner operator because you're the bottleneck for everything and you're the creator of everything. You know, you're answering the phone, you're calling that person back, you're scheduling the walk, you walked it, you sold it, you signed the contract, and you're either producing or managing the work yourself. So like you are the single point of accountability. There's not too much that can go wrong unless you're just inept at a certain part of, you know, that phase. But once you add that project manager or that site superintendent or that salesperson or that inside salesperson or that office admin or a CSR, like once you start filling these positions, it's very tough to, because like the whole goal of a process is to have a predictable and repeatable outcome, right?
Yeah.
It's very tough to have things that are predictable and repeatable when you start adding in personalities and relationships and starting to have to craft a culture of excellence rather than just rely on yourself.
Yeah.
So the solutions for the problems that we found is one, isolating single points of accountability in your company, giving people the agency to not necessarily follow an SOP, but follow a playbook. So having very clear outcomes, like this is what success looks like. This is what it does not look like. Now here's a proven process to get to success that works. But I trust you. You're a grown person. Like this is your job, your profession, to get to our ideal outcome in the most efficient, profitable, and client experience orientated way. And so that was a big change too, where I probably wrote 200 SOPs in a year. Right. And I have the training and onboarding iteration adoptive process, like trying to get everyone to adopt these SOPs. But that nothing gets adopted if it's not created by the person that's doing it. Right. So that's where I switched to like ideal outcomes and having people really have buy-in to that process and have a conversation about what success looks like and how they're going to reach that. And then give them the autonomy and agency to succeed in it or fail in it and learn, you know?
Gotcha.
So
that's an interesting point. So like when you're adding a new person to the chain or to the operations, do you like, here's the SOPs and then they're there for a while and then they come up with ideas, or they come in and they give you ideas?
Well, so that's a nuanced one, because sometimes when I hire someone and they have too many ideas too quick, it's actually a red flag, you know,
Really?
because it's like, I shouldn't have to train you necessarily how to do your job at a certain level, like a project manager, superintendent, director of operations, whatever that may be. I'm not necessarily training you how to do your job. I'm training you on the systems and processes that we have that are specific to our culture, our brand, our deliverables. But the nuts and bolts should already be there, right?
Yeah.
And so if they're coming in and trying to change like fundamental core, like inherited processes, it's kind of a red flag, because it's like, well, do you actually know what you need to do, right? Do we need to take a step back here? Because you shouldn't have to ask me about how to frame this door, right? There's 100 different ways to frame a door. How you do it doesn't really matter as long as it's hung plumb square and it swings and it closes, right? If you're trying to recreate the wheel, sometimes I think that's a compensation type thing and more of like a flex. And if that's like on day one, it's like, okay, well, you know, that's the 80% we don't care about, right?
Yeah.
So usually that process creation and iteration of new process and adjusting processes happens, compounding with people. So it's technically not like the first hire, like they can follow that process and get to the finish line successfully. But then once you have, like, let's say a salesperson and they're running 10 leads, and then you bolt on the 15th lead and the 16th lead and the 17th lead, and their capacity starts to stretch thin, and they can't follow our proven process. And so we have an inside sales assistant that we hire that to do all the admin and CRM management, all of that. Well, that's when it's like, okay, well, now the process is broken. Where are the ideas? Because this person is maybe doing 20 hours of work. She has another 20 to fill. Like, how do we adjust this process to make it more inclusive and take care of our client, or improve the quality of our process, improve the efficiency of the sales process, like whatever it may be. But typically, I would say maybe quarterly, we're looking at a process and saying, okay, is this still working?
Yeah.
And if we ever have the same issue repeatedly, we're going back to that issue as like a level 10 leadership meeting saying, okay, this has happened now on 3 jobs.
Yeah.
We need to fix it. What's going on?
Okay.
But if it's a one-off type thing, we're typically not changing the ship direction to address.
So do you use subs or do you have employees?
Well, very in-house deep. Across all the companies, we have, I think, 42 employees now.
Gotcha.
Ranging, most of that is in the field. I believe there's 18 guys on our tile and stone crews, 12 guys on our KHB crews, and then 3 managers at KHB and 1 general manager at the tile and stone side. And then the rest are estimators, office. Gotcha. So this is where it's like, and this was the big complexity issue in 24. When you're doing mergers, acquisitions, like culture assimilation was like the biggest thing on my list. It's like I'm taking 3 different companies and putting them all under one roof.
Yeah.
How are we going to assimilate together is huge. But then how do we flip that lever of economies of scale, right? Because now I bolt on 20 more employees to my existing companies that have their own skill sets, their own processes, their own history in this industry and relationships. Like, how do we start leveraging this? And that was probably the biggest trick of 2024 was trying to enact economies of scale that made everyone win. And that was tough.
That's challenging.
Yeah.
So what kind of technology do you use to do all of this?
Yeah. Well, at one point we had over 32 pieces of tech.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's still no good solution. We actually, our director at Moonbound, he's developing some AI agents and doing some, because now like development of tech is so enabled because there's a lot of no code options that you can do, and AI like fills the gaps on a lot of things. So we're actually developing our own tech at this point for like niche issues that we have. Gotcha. One being like process adoption, right? Like we're creating an AI agent that's a repository of all of our processes that lives on your phone, on your computer. It's an extension on Chrome. It's an on-page reader essentially. And when you get to a certain point or you're looking at something, like it's like a little bot that pops up and says, hey, you could do it like this, or hey, here's a process to show you how to do X, Y, and Z. It looks like you're stuck. So some custom solutions we're getting into, and we will have our own full suite of front end and operations tech that we will develop in the next 5 years. Like just because we're such a unique company that a lot of these cookie cutter solutions don't work. But as of right now, that's a big caveat too. I'm trying to run everything through Buildertrend for KHB, and I'm going to be putting all of our companies on Buildertrend and then filling in the gaps with our custom solutions. Like the CRM, it doesn't work for what we're doing at all. The closed API doesn't work for us at all, which is why we actually got creative and created this on-screen AI, because we can backdoor their API. If Buildertrend's listening to this, you're a lawyer, right? You can get me out of this. So we're actually using on-screen AI to interpret what's happening and then make that connection externally outside of Buildertrend's API to our other softwares. So we use G Suite, we use CallRail, we use Twilio, we use Buildertrend, we were using MailChimp, we use Beehive now for newsletters and we have a blog called Plant My Plants, which is kind of a passion project. And
Yeah, just a
then,
little something else to do.
yeah, well, so I kind of turned Moonbound into a think tank this year. So I still have like a full-time videographer that does our podcast and does, all of our video content on site. And we do contracting, marketing for other contractors. So we have like a for contractor, by contractor, digital marketing approach. But it was getting like, at one point we were putting out 100 pieces of content a week. We were putting out a ton of blogs. We already took over the SEO space and we were just kind of maintaining that. And it was like,
what else can we do?
What else can we do? Yeah. So we turned into a think tank because I have a bunch of ideas every single week and I don't have enough time to like pursue anything. So we'll have a meeting. I'll list all my ideas. My team will like run down for like 2 or 3 days, like what's most feasible. And then we'll start, iterating. Like, let's build it. Let's iterate it. Let's see how it works. And then can we sell it? So we're building like SaaS tools and little tools for contractors with AI agents. And it's a lot of fun. It's cool.
Cool. Just a side note. Have you ever heard of JobTread?
I have.
And Eric Fortin. I don't know. I hear he's got a good product. So
no, I've
check them out.
Talked to Eric on the interwebs. Never met him in person.
Yeah.
Everyone I've talked to says he's a great guy. It's a great company. He's doing a lot of things right. And I've met their team at KBiz or the Builder Show.
Yeah.
And every year they try to get me to switch, and every year I sign up for that call, and I'm like, it's just such a heavy lift to transition. Like, and Buildertrend does a great job of holding you hostage with your data as well.
Well, I mean, any kind of software change like that is huge, and I don't know how much he's got the marketing piece built in. I don't know. I just hear people are very happy with it, and that they are more customizable to the extent that you can talk to their developers, but that's neither here nor there. So, so tell me about custom stonework. Why did you decide to get into that, and how's that going?
Yeah. So my merger and acquisition approach is to acquire off the P&L.
Okay.
So with context though. So what's the biggest pain in my ass? Who shows up for, the project on time, ready, prepared? What's my obviously biggest expenditure? And what is going to be highly marketable and has like a good book of business on its own. And so tile and stone is on every single one of our projects. Okay. It's the most expensive line item in our proposals for bathrooms. It is in kitchens. Like sometimes we're putting in $5,000-$10,000 slabs, and there's 5 of them in a kitchen. So it was super lucrative on that. And then I also liked it because you can hedge between markets really well. And it's a shorter timeline for completion. So my world is usually 3 to 6 months of like a project cycle. Theirs is like 3 to 6 days. Yeah. So in some ways there's like the headache of volume, but in a lot of ways it's like, you could turn the page really quick. And so like look at the P&L, it was like, okay, cabinets is a big one for us. Huge expenditure, very big pain in our ass. Like it's on my list. In the next 3 years, like we will have a cabinet company. Paint is like a really easy lift. I'm not saying anyone can go paint, but there's a huge demand for it. It's on every one of our projects, and we already have some guys in house that have that skill set. So like that's one we're not even going to. We might go acquisition route because I have a few guys in my sites, but probably just going to grassroots that whole paint department in the next 18 months, and then I'm going to get my license actually in 2 or 3 months for painting in California. Yeah. So tile and stone specifically, it was lucrative. The margins are great, like 50-60% gross margins on our projects. The client life cycle was much shorter. The sales process is almost immediate. Like it's a one-call close type of trade, which is great because design build necessarily isn't a one-call close type trade. And to diversify, because when you have like a very singular task, like tile setting, we can spread that across the commercial markets. We can spread it across residential, direct to consumer with homeowners, working for other GCs. And that was one of the big things when we did the acquisition, was because they were already one of our primary subcontractors, was how concentrated or diluted are we as their revenue? Like on their table here, like how much are we contributing to their top line and to their bottom line? And that was like my biggest goal, was they were about 70% commercial, 30% residential. And of that 30%, we were like 10% of that.
Really?
And
Wow.
so my goal was like sub 5% concentration of KHB revenue, supporting this. That way, if anything happened to KHB or there's a downswing or whatever may
So I
happen,
had this other.
they're protected financially. And so direct to consumer was like a big initiative for us, like getting in there with homeowners, and then other GC relationships, which also was very tricky being a general contractor myself, because I'm their direct competitor in the residential market. And so it was kind of like this game of like, who's the man behind the curtain type thing.
Yeah, exactly. Are you using the same name, different name?
Yeah, that's why we went with a different name, Hometown Stone, because I didn't want it to be, because we did that with the flooring company. We rebranded it to KHB Flooring. And I did see an impact due to that, because that KHB in our market was just associated with KHB Construction, design build contractor competition.
Yeah.
So we didn't open doors with that. So yeah, it was it actually was a pretty smooth transition, because I already had a relationship with all their operators, and everyone in the company stayed, which was great.
Wow, that is great.
We didn't lose
Usually
one
that doesn't
person,
happen.
which is really rare for an acquisition, because it took a lot of buy-in on their end to like trust me, because it was kind of a tough ownership situation before we acquired the company. So
I want to kind of change gears a little bit to talk about marketing.
Yeah.
Like remodelers, what is like the best place to market or marketing plan to have as a remodeler?
Yeah. Love that. I love marketing. It's like I said, we were a marketing and sales company that happened to do construction. I would say keep it simple, stupid, right? If you're to talk to my director of marketing at Moonbound, like he could go down all the way and just talk about the granular details of like how to have a marketing approach and the pillars of your marketing and how you should, send that out across all the channels and have it all tie into different landing pages with different tracking URLs and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Just focus on Google My Business, get reviews. That's something that also is attractive about the tile company. Shorter life cycle for the client, higher review count.
Yep.
So an app like Nice Job or not Guardian, but there's another one that you can basically really get a lot of reviews in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
And that so helps with local authority. The next is proximity. Gotcha. So like, don't set up your business at your home address. Don't. When we went to our second location, like we strategically found a location that was in a commercial development on a main corridor of highway that can get us places quickly, but was surrounded by $1 to $5 million homes within 5 miles. Like on Google, proximity is huge for your SEO. And so strategically getting a shop location, even if it's a little bit more expensive, like count it as like invested money into marketing, because proximity is huge on Google. Reviews is probably second. And then your content. So relevant content is huge. If you're a deck builder, for example, like you don't need to have content about framing. You don't need to have content about landscape necessarily, but having location relevant, product relevant, and service relevant blog content and on-page content on your website is huge. That would bring me to a website, a high-performing website that has relevant on-page content is also huge for your SEO. So and that's just like non-paid channels of marketing. If you just did that, you could dominate your local SEO. And that's the majority of where our organic business comes from, is Google My Business. AI is shaking things up. I truthfully don't know enough about how AI is changing that landscape to really talk on it yet, because it is like changing so fast. I do know like the map pack has been affected, because you have your AI summaries now, you have your AI suggested, and everyone's kind of fighting for 4th or 5th place right now with like paid acquisition market, especially on Google, because you're just getting kicked down the page so much. Paid channel wise, I like to, once again, the they ask you answer premise of like educational content. There's like diet pills, and then there's like, long-term sustained approaches to losing weight. Same thing with marketing. Like you could just go boost your highest performing reel on Facebook and Instagram and probably get some decent leads out of that. And like, that's great. That's not a strategy. Like that's a diet pill. That's like, hey, I'm broke in 2 weeks. I just need to like go sell something to break even. And just more like brand awareness type stuff. But for like long-term approach to marketing, it needs to be educational. And I'd like to use our paid channels for educational content. Basically doing like keyword research on what our clients in our market what are clients in our market looking for? Like what are their biggest questions? Let's put content, video content, EDU books, like little ebooks, whatever that may be, backing that keyword. And let's have like a 3-4 retargeted campaign strategically hitting those people.
Gotcha.
And then that ties into like getting qualitative or quantitative data on your best clients. So, and like qualitative is more like a deeper dive into the biomarkers of that client. So if you have like Becky in this neighborhood and she's 55, she's married, she lives in an $800,000 home. Her husband does this for work. She does this for work. She drives a BMW. He drives a Mercedes G-Wagon. You know, like you can get all those little biomarkers and start filtering down and finding like trends in different demographics and geography of your market, and then start like serving catered ads to that type of person. Because the whole point of marketing is to build trust, which is why referrals are the best marketing source. Like being a good contractor is your best form of marketing because you're going to get referrals out of it and there's going to be inherent trust there. So if our goal is to build trust with our clients, we need to intimately know what they want, what problems they have, and who we're talking to as a person. And that's where like the marketing strategy comes in. So gathering that data, building out that ideal avatar, building out your ideal demographic and market, and then really reverse engineering. Okay, we want this person. Here's how we're going to get there. And we found that 7 touches of marketing is typically the trick to get a conversion. And that could be between Google, Meta, Yelp, and all the rehashing and retargeting campaigns behind those to get them on the website. And then that's just to convert to get like a land, right? And then once they get on our website, our best clients visit our website 21 times before they fill out a form and convert.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
and those
amazing.
are unsold projects. So there's a lot of time invested. And typically that's like, for a lot of people, that buying process is 6-9 months for our service, right? Our ticket size is like $350K. So it's a big investment that people are making for, you know, tile, decks, paint, you know, windows and doors, exteriors, a lot faster, a lot accelerated timeline. People are usually ready to buy now. It's a little bit lower commitment. Financing comes into play, all of that. But for us, it's a very long marketing cycle to get our ideal client.
So what kind of services does your marketing arm offer to other contractors?
Really everyone in the home services industry. We do a few one-off things because all of my guys came from a really big firm and they did video production, editing, podcasts, digital, SEO work, web development for a multitude of companies. But then once they all came on board here, and I think our first, it was like 4 years ago, our lead videographer came, and then I hired our new director about 2 years ago, and then that firm shut down because apparently they were the 2 key players. And we do have some residual clients in like hospitality, and we have one that it's like she makes saddles. She's in Texas, actually. She's a saddle maker, and we do all of her marketing, and that's like super fun. We have a yacht builder in Canada, and he's building yachts on the Superior Lakes on the north side, which is like super cool. But mostly, if you offer a home service, we can help you. And we have a unique insight because between me, I have a unique experience being a single trade contractor, a subcontractor, a direct to consumer contractor, and being a general contractor, design build, working with architects and those longer life cycles. So when we get a new client or we have an onboarding, typically I would hop on that call and just like, hey, let's talk. Because whatever you're going through in your marketing efforts, I've probably already paid your stupid tax. So like, let me, extend that information to you. But a lot of our guys are higher ticket guys, like the yacht builder. Obviously, that's an expensive service to offer. And they need to get in front of their ideal client, who is a small percentage of the population.
Yeah.
We really specialize in that, in creating like custom solutions to get in front of that ideal client. And then like the flooring, the tile and stone, the painting, the roofers, the exterior guys, it's more of like a qualified shotgun, right? Because everyone that owns a home has a roof, and we could sell them something, right?
Yes.
So it's just, how do we put an offer together that's so good that whoever you're approaching with that offer can't say no? And it's more that approach of like, what's our offer to these people? And then we just need to get the exposure of that offer to people who own homes that have roofs, you know? So, yeah.
Wow. That's a lot.
It is.
What do you do in your spare time?
I try to sleep 6 hours a night.
And you have children too. How many children do you have?
I do. I have 3 kids.
Oh my gosh.
3 boys.
Oh, goodness.
In the next few months, they're all, you know, moving up in age. They're going to be 8, 7, and 5.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm also their football coach, basketball coach, all that good stuff. Yeah.
So sounds like you have employees and people that have been with you a while. What is the secret to building and keeping a good team?
Great question. And I don't think there's like a one size fits all answer to it. It's super nuanced. Every person needs to be spoken to and understood, like for where they're at and who they are. One of the things we do is a Kolbe assessment, which is like an MO assessment. And it really does tell us like how this person interprets a problem, how they go about solving a problem, and how we can communicate with them best. And I do my best to go back and look through that. If I have a problem with someone, like kind of go over their MO again. And, you know, some people just need to be hit between the eyes. I'm like, here's the facts, here's the issue, and we need to fix it. How are we going to do that? And some people, when there's an issue, we need to have it be their idea. You know, I think that the best way to lead people is to lead their ideas to be yours. Almost like not they ask you answer, but how to win friends and influence people approach to things. So I am a very hands-off leader, like super hands-off. I basically set up a framework. Like, we still have our meetings on Mondays with sales, design, ops, all the guys. I still go to the job sites and check in because I love construction. And I love like what we're doing. And I want our guys to see that I'm not just like an absentee owner. But I let people figure it out the way they need to figure it out. And I'm always at their disposal to answer questions. Culture-wise, like really following our core values. And like, that's another thing too. The core value side of it too. As an owner, you actually need to live the core values. Like, they should be an extension of your belief system, you know? So like our first core value is do what you say, right? High integrity. Like, we operate in high integrity. We do what we say when we're going to do it, and we do it to our best of our ability. Second is authenticity. Like, be yourself. Like, don't be someone you're not. Don't act like you have information that you might not have. You know, don't act like don't be a know-it-all. No one likes those people. Just be authentic, right? Like, come to us as you are. And that's the best way to come, just who you are. Next is humility. Once again, we give our people a lot of agency to fail and to succeed. And when we want them to have the humility, and the ideal person does, to raise their hand and say, hey, I don't know. You know, I don't know how we're going to frame this. I don't know how we're going to get around this problem. That's huge, because we do have a lot of people out of as resources, and someone knows, right? I don't know everything. Like, I'm a very young business owner, but I think I know enough to know what I don't know. And I either hire that person that's ideally smarter than me or has that skill set, or I outsource that information and bring in a consultant, or I just make it happen. But I'm not going to try to white knuckle something I don't know. It's just going to fail for everyone. And then our last core value is people first. So we go by the framework of people, process, profit. And if we take care of the people and we follow a process, the rest is going to take care of itself. So that's our big thing, is our people. So that looks like, I don't think I've never fired anyone for making a mistake, even mistakes that have cost us tens of thousands of dollars. Never fired someone out of like anger for making mistakes. I've never reprimanded people. I rarely do write-ups. I think write-ups are stupid. I think they don't do anything. They don't get the point across. I'd rather show them how it affects them, right? whether like that mistake leads to not hitting our gross profit goals for the quarter, that means no one gets a bonus. That means you don't get to go on vacation because you're not gonna be able to afford it, right? That sucks. So like framing the problems and leading like with solutions and showing them what's in it for them. Like, what are you getting out of working here? And that comes down to vision and mission, which also ties into those core values. Like my vision, my mission has to be big enough for all of them to fit under it. Right. And for 42 people, like I think we've already paid out like over $1 million in payroll in 2 months or something like that. Something ridiculous, right? Like my vision and my mission has to be just audacious. It has to be grossly huge for them to like buy in to what we're doing here and really be effective. And that just creates a culture of excellence because everyone wants a part of that. Like I showed them in Q3 last year, my 5-year plan for them, right? Not the 5-year plan for the company. It's like, here's what's for you, right? Like I want to do either a profit share or employee stock option purchasing. I want to do healthcare 100% for everyone, not just 50% like we're doing right now. I want to do 401k match 10%. You know, I don't want to just do 4%, 3% like most companies do. Like I want you all to be freaking millionaires. Like think of like the first 40 employees at Apple, right? Like they're all chilling on a yacht or dead, but like they were wealthy, right? So like I want that for you guys. I want that excitement. I want that buzz when we're working together that we are changing our market. We're changing our industry. We are going to, this is a little aggressive, but like one of our mottos is slit throats and burn boats, you know, like we're slitting throats, we're burning boats, we're moving forward, we're conquering, and everyone's going to win, right? And then the second side of that too is leading by example, which is I have that attitude. I'm in the office at 3 a.m., not because I have to be, because I want to be. Like I'm just driven. Not doing what's expected, but doing what's required. So that like your little deliverables and accountabilities and your job description, like that's cute, but like when shit hits the fan, you got to do what you got to do to get the job done. And that's like part of that. And then another kind of inherited core value that I have is like, I don't care about money. And ironically, more money has came to me since I've explicitly lived that out. Like I do not care about money. I want to give it all away. I'm a die with zero type person. Like I want to give it to you to be successful and take care of your families and like build your legacy. If you want to start a business, I want to invest in it because I trained you. I know you're a good person. If you want to go like our plumber, like if you want to go start your own plumbing business, please be my subcontractor. Like I would love to stroke that check to get you off the ground. I'll help you any way I can. Like I just don't care about money. And I think that has been a huge breakthrough personally for our business and for myself, you know, financially, personally, just not really caring.
But you still watch the numbers.
Yes, of course I do. And I have been called irresponsible financially before. I live by like, we don't have a spending problem. We have an earning problem. That's my belief. I think that money is not finite. I think it's a tool. It's a resource. It's something that can be acquired as long as you put in what's required to acquire it. So I don't really view it as like money's not an obstacle. But the problem is I thought about that even when I was like homeless for 3 weeks in college, you know? There's
you can always go make more, right?
Yeah.
You just go make more.
Yeah.
That's like kind of my motto. We need someone to go make some more. Oh my gosh, this was amazing. So if people want to know more about you, more about all your businesses, where would they go? Well,
we have a YouTube page, KHB Construction. We have our podcast, shameless plug, the AIS podcast, above industry standard. Instagram, rec build, and I trying to post more. I honestly don't have time. I'm trying to have our videographer do like more personal content, but yeah, or just shoot me an email. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time and being on the show.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
No, thanks.